Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Once again, we thank you for joining us here on Faith in Your Recovery. We're thankful you've taken time out of your busy schedule to be with us, and we're not going to waste that time. We're going to give you a story that we believe will bring help. It's going to provide hope, and if you choose, it can even bring change and a brighter future, a better life in the name of Brianna's Hope. Again, thanks for joining us. Our guest today, Timothy Bunch. Welcome, Timothy.
Hey, pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we look forward to hearing your story, a little bit of the struggle, a lot of the victory, and everything in between. If we miss something, you throw it in there, okay?
You ask me, and I'll tell you.
All right. That's honest enough. Here at Faith in Your Recovery, we try to focus on all things recovery. We want you to be raw. We want you to be real. We want you to be you.
All right.
And we look forward to that. So go ahead and tell us where you are in life today. Tell the folks where you live. Tell them any hobbies or interests that you have, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, I live in Rushville, small rural community in Rush County. I'm married, got 4 kids with my wife. I work as a certified addictions peer recovery coach at the Connection Cafe. It's in Fayette County, Connorsville. I don't know, for fun today, I get involved with my son's sports games, like going to baseball games, going to basketball games, things like that. I got 3 daughters, and they're wild. So,
how old are your kids?
Let's see, 8, 9, 12, and 13. Then I got one older one that's 17.
Okay. So obviously that's going to take a bunch of your time when you dedicate and commit to them, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I try to find some time for me, but it's hard sometimes. So
yeah.
But I enjoy, listening to music. I still play like in the men's league basketball. I ain't as good as what I used to be, but I guess that's old age catching up.
It can happen. What kind of music are you into the most?
I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to that. I'll listen to about anything. I'll give it a shot. I don't really have a certain genre that I stick with. All
right.
Like yesterday, me and my coworker it was Wednesday. Me and my coworker was riding around, and I told her it was 70s rock day, so that's what we were listening to.
So you talked about you work in that Fayette County area. I just spoke with Frank Oakman this morning as I was coming here from
Pastor Frank's great.
Yeah, Pastor Frank. He's there. Is it Connorsville First? Is that the First United Methodist?
Methodist, yeah.
Yeah.
He does the Brianna's Hope at the Connection Cafe, actually, Saturday mornings.
Yes, and we talked about the possibility of some other things. So it's nice to have that connection.
Yeah.
And, we'll not tell the world everything we know about Frank. No,
right.
All right? Yeah, we'll keep some of that secret. All right, you've told us where you are today, what some of your interests are about. Go ahead and share with us who Timothy was at a young age. What were what was your upbringing like? How'd your family unit look? How did it work? Share that with us.
I mean, growing up, we come from a kind of a lower class family. Mom and dad, they put food on the table and paid the bills and such. But, I grew up in a trailer park, and I remember when we moved out of that trailer park and we got a 2-bedroom house, I thought, we hit it big. And
castle.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Growing up, I was always a little smaller than the other kids in the class, so I was kind of picked on with, that ordeal. I was very active in sports, so I used my aggression and stuff to overcome my size. So, I look back on it, man, and I'm grateful for the little things in life that, brought me up. Mom and dad, they divorced at a young age. I got a half sister that lived with us, and she moved out, fairly young when I was fairly young. and they divorced around like age of 8 or something, and I chose to live with my father because Mom got with another guy and moved out of county, and so I chose to live with him because I didn't want to switch up schools or anything.
Sure.
My dad he got cancer, and it took him fairly quickly, Randy, and I think I was 12 when that happened.
That had to be tough.
Yeah, it was tough. That's who I looked up to. It was like my best friend.
Sure.
And so like when the cancer took him, like I was like, my mom her and her new husband had moved into Rush County in Milroy, and so I didn't like have to switch schools or nothing. So it made the transition a little easy. And it was around that time is when I started the drinking and the smoking weed and taking some pills and stuff. So that's when I first started dabbling and things like that.
How did that come about? What was the availability? How were you able to get your hands on the drinking and the drugs?
I mean, living in Milroy, I mean, I knew some of the older guys that, were hanging out there, and they just, I mean, it was there. They were doing it, and I said, oh. And it was like, dealing with my dad's death, like I wasn't never one to like go talk to a therapist or a counselor. I didn't even really like share my emotions with my mom. So like my way of dealing with it was, well, I'm going to do what, the older guys are doing and try to suppress my feelings that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Was alcohol your first drug of choice, or at least your first drug
I
of
think
use?
so. Now I look back, I think, I'm pretty sure that I drank like a 6-pack like my first time drinking, and it wiped me out. And
You're 12, 13 years
Yeah.
old, yes?
yeah, I know. I woke up in the bathroom one time and was like, man, how did I get here?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, now that you asked that, I think that was the first experiment.
Okay.
And then it came, some muscle relaxers and, some marijuana. And so I just started dabbling a little more as it went on.
Do you recall at all how you felt emotionally during that time? Was it numbing the pain at that point,
It made
at
me-
least in your own mind?
Yeah, it at least made me forget about things.
Okay.
I wasn't sad anymore. I mean, it did, like, it was kind of helping, like, make me happy again. And
At least for the time
For
frame
the
that
time
you had
being.
the buzz,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And once the buzz was over, the hurt and the pain was still there. So we want to
Absolutely.
make sure we don't promote the
No,
thought,
absolutely.
but be honest about it. Yes, yes. So, okay.
Yeah, that's it. It's a temporary fix.
Yeah, it's a Band-Aid on a
Yeah.
on a major wound, right?
The problem at hand is still there when, the buzz or whatever goes away.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Okay, so you've got the alcohol, you get into some of those muscle relaxants. You mentioned marijuana there. How'd the marijuana thing work? Tell us about your usage. How long were you into that?
oh, man. That was probably like my favorite thing to do. Like, I continued that, for another 20-some years, yeah.
Okay. Did that lead to heavier drugs?
Absolutely. And like when I was going through like junior high and high school, like I was kind of gradually fading away from the things that I loved as a kid, like being involved in basketball and football. And I started, getting more into other things. So it took that love away. And I mean, I think by the time I was 18, when I graduated, like, pretty sure I had tried about every drug that was out there, whether, meth, heroin, all of it. And I was a young adult, and I'd already done all these things. So, yeah, and it started with the weed and the alcohol, and it led to everything else.
Was it pretty heavy usage? Was it consistent, or was it just now and then? Was it
Yeah, with, like-
recreational or more dependent upon the drug?
I think, like, once I got into the pain pills, it was more dependent upon that, on the opiates, like the meth and things like that. Like that was kind of like a weekend thing, but it gradually, it got worse as I kept doing it.
Okay, you say that's up to kind of the age of 18, the ending of your high school years.
Yeah.
Take us forward from there, Timothy, what life was like, struggles, other challenges.
Well, there's the fun. I mean, I was talking about my mom and my dad that passed away.
Yes.
When I was 20 or 21, Mom shared with me that he adopted me when I was born, and I did not know about that.
So
I was under the assumption that was my father, my biological
father.
Yeah, and she told me,
you find out
for some reason
differently.
she thought it was a good idea to tell me, like, hey, he adopted you. He ain't your biological father. There's this other guy out there. So I'm like, that's kind of hurtful. Like, why would you even tell me that? But I mean, I know who like my biological father is, but I don't have any interest to,
You've never made a connection.
We have, but it's just it didn't work out, and I kind of felt different about it because I know who my dad was. He's the one that raised me and the one that passed away. So that just drove me even further into my addiction. Mom telling me that, and it's like everybody knew growing up but me. And so that just made me feel some kind of way that might as well just keep doing what I'm doing. And I ended up getting with this one girl, and we had our child together. Now this child, man, she's 17 today, and she lives in Greenfield. She's never been to my house. Like I don't have any visitation rights with her. I support her monetarily, but that's about where it ends. Do
you have any kind of communication with her? That occasional phone call or text, email?
It's tough, man, because she's 17, and 13 years of her life, I really wasn't there, and my substance use took over, and just I don't know. I keep trying to mend that relationship with her today, and. She's 17, so she's got a wall built up, and I get that. She's got a resentment built towards me. So I'll just, she tells me to leave her alone, quit messing with her. So I'll just give her space, and hopefully, God will one day, bring that relationship to, be repaired.
It's going to require his timing instead of ours.
And it's tough sometimes, being patient and things like that, and just putting it all in his hands. And
absolutely. So, what's your daughter's name?
Her name's Chloe.
Chloe.
Yeah.
I have a niece named Chloe. I like that name. She's a sweetheart. Right now, let's just believe for a moment that Chloe's listening to this. What would you like to tell her?
I don't know. I've told her I'm sorry many a times. I think at some point people get tired of hearing the word sorry. It's really just, Dad does love you. Maybe I didn't do the best job of showing it of you growing up. But, if you're listening, just know I do love you. I do care. And, I pray to God one day that we can have a relationship together.
I can't speak for her, and I wouldn't try, but maybe there's that thought in her mind. I want to see him clean a little while longer to see if this is really going to work before I make myself vulnerable.
Yeah. And then it's tough on her knowing that I have 4 other children with my wife, and they get the dad side of me, and she didn't get that.
We had it was Jolene. She's one of our previous episodes on here, and she talked about the conflict between her and her oldest daughter for that very reason. The oldest daughter believed that her younger brother got the good side of Mom, and she had to deal with that tough side. So I hear what you're saying, and I hear what she's saying as well.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you do, and regrets won't change it, but the regrets are there, and maybe you'll get that fresh opportunity again one of these times. We'll hope and pray for that.
Yeah, I put it, like you said, I'll put it in God's hands.
Yeah. So, okay, here we are. Tell us then, go ahead with, what happened after you found out that you had been adopted.
Like I said, that's when the methamphetamine use and things like that got pretty bad. That's when it all started.
Was it more of numbing the pain and the hurt?
It was just, I mean, I love the way it made me feel. I love the euphoria from it. So and that's what, the people I hung out with, that's what we were doing. And I ended up getting like 2 OWIs back to back. And this is really the only time I ever been in trouble was when I was like 22, 23. And I'm be 38 next month. So like getting in trouble with the law really ain't a big part of my story. But I got those 2 OWIs, and that was just being high and driving. It wasn't even being drunk and driving.
An OWI is operating while intoxicated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just for anybody out there who may not know.
So that was like warrant for my blood and urine. So that's what, brought up the drugs in my system.
Yeah.
But like I didn't have a license for the next like 13 years because I didn't want to take that risk getting a third one and, going to prison over it. So I ain't going to get them back.
So what age range was that when you were without your license?
Let's see, I just got them back like 3 years ago. So 35 from like 22 to 35. Something. Yeah, that sounds about right. 13
pretty,
years.
Those are pretty quality years to be without a license.
Yeah, and that in between that time, like I got with my wife now, and we had our 4 children pretty consecutively, if they're listening, those are my kids, I love them. That's Journey, Janelle, Jevin, and Jaylee. So they all start with J's.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then we have 3 cats, and they all start with J's as well.
Is there a reason why you went with the J's? You just chose to.
Yeah, we named the first one, our 13-year-old, her name's Jaylee. We named her, and then we was like, let's just stick with the J theme.
Okay.
And it carried over into our cats as well. So,
oh, that's neat. Nothing wrong with that. Have that theme. So go ahead and lead us forward then, okay?
Well, my wife, we've been married, be 2 years in September. We've been together like 12 years, and she'll tell you straight up, like she didn't like me for, 10 of those years or so. Like while I was. But she's a saint, Randy. Like she stuck with me. She knew that something inside of me was good, and I just had a problem. And
did she come from any kind of addiction back then?
She might have had some drinking or smoking weed, things like that. But once the kids were born, she was able to quit all that.
She was able to control it before it got control of her.
Yeah, she was able to quit all that, and it wasn't a problem with her.
Okay.
To me, it was.
Yeah.
And even with like the birth of the kids, like things like that, I couldn't even I had to get high in order to go do something with my children. Like I just didn't have that, motivation, and I put them through a lot, Randy, and I would leave and she would be doing all the responsibilities, and she works as a nurse at the hospital in Rushville. And, she was putting all the money on the table, and I'm just out there, supplying and supporting my own habit and doing what I was doing. And, for some reason, she stuck it out with me, and I ended up we had a pretty nice apartment. It was 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and it finally caught up to me. I got us evicted out of that apartment. Somebody said they suspected there was drug use being going on there, and this is wild too. A lot of people don't even heard of this. They came in and said they were doing monthly inspections, and they took my furnace filter out, and they sent that furnace filter off, and it came back positive for methamphetamines, and that was cause for immediate eviction. So that's one of my biggest. Regret, embarrassing moments. Because not only then was my actions not affecting me, they affected my wife and my children. And they got the consequences of all my wrongdoings. So
yes,
they moved in with her father at the time, and that's when I was homeless. And I remember, can I tell you how I came across the Better Life Marinas Hope?
Please do.
All right. Well, I was homeless, and I was wearing out my welcome, friend's house, and then I go to the next place, and they had the Rush County Fair. I think it was Mary Jane Apple. She's on Team Hope with us there in Rushville.
Sweetheart.
Yeah, Mary Jane's awesome. She's like a godsend to me. They had a booth set up there at the fair, and I was just, I was going through, and I think I'd been up for a few days, and something just compelled me to stop and see what this was about. And Mary Jane seen me, and now this is at a point, where I just got us evicted out of our apartment, and everybody's pretty upset with me, And Mary Jane, I didn't even know this lady, and she hugged me, and she said, "You know what? I love you." And she's like, "I believe in you." She's like, we have this meeting on Wednesday nights. Just come down and see me. Come see what it's about. And I made that promise something. I guess it was a God thing. Like I said, I told her, I said, "I'll be there." I said, I promise you, I'll be there. And that's why that group, her bringing us open Wednesday nights, I consider that's my home group. I haven't stopped going since. I showed up that first time, and I'll admit I wasn't sober, and it didn't matter. They hugged me. They told me they loved me. Like, "Hey, is there anything we can do for you? Like, do you need anything? We're here for you. We support you, and just sit down, have a meal. Have you ate today?" And things like that, So that really touched my heart, man, because I wasn't hearing too many people say they loved me at that time. So.
You weren't getting pounded. You weren't getting judged. You were getting welcomed.
Absolutely, and that made me feel real good. And that's like, the shame, the stigma. Like, man, sometimes we just want to hear somebody say that we love them, and they believe in us.
When we can't love ourselves and somebody else loves us before we can, that goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like, my wife, she'd given up on me at that point, and she'll tell you, like, there wasn't nothing else I can do but pray. I just had to let him figure it out himself. So, like, I was homeless for, a few months, and it ended up, my journey ended up underneath the bridge, and that's where I was staying for a few weeks. And,
And literally, you mean under the bridge?
Yeah.
Not symbolically, but literally.
Literally.
You lived there.
Yeah, I was living under the bridge. I'd run streets at, day. And
Where was this? What town?
in Rushville.
We're talking Rushville,
Yeah.
folks, and it's not a major metropolis.
No, you head out on 3, like you're going towards Greensburg or Brookville, and that's that bridge right there.
Sometimes we think that's only in the big city. That's only in the metropolis of some larger,
Yeah, because
location.
there's no like homeless shelter or anything there. So
Yeah.
I didn't really. That's the
The
only thing
bridge became that for you.
That's the only thing I could think of. And I was still caught up in the web of my substance use, and they had mentioned to me at the Brianna's Hope, we got the funds where we can send people to treatment if that's something you're ever interested in. They didn't force it upon me. They just asked me, like, "Hey, if you're ever interested, we got this." I remember, like, one night under the bridge, man, it was about like it is outside right now. Cold, rainy,
blustery, wet.
Yeah, it was cold and raining, and man, I was freezing. It was night, and I had some substances in my pocket, and I don't know what came over me that night, but it was like, man, like, I can't continue living like this. I got 5 kids, and here their dad is, sleeping under a bridge. Like, something's got to give. I turned it all over to God that night, Randy. They talk about that spiritual awakening and that, coming of, and man, it was, it kind of gives me goosebumps talking about it. Like something, just came over me, and I prayed, and I wasn't really the praying type. And I just prayed, like, "God, if you can give me the strength and courage to, get through this, man, I'll put in the work. You just give me the courage." And sure enough, I threw what drugs I had in my pocket right there in the river. And I woke up that next day, and I cried all night. I was so emotional. And I woke up that next day, and I gave, Mary Jane and Jenny and Kay down at Bringing Us Hope, I gave them all a call and was like, "Hey, you guys mentioned that treatment thing. Like, let's try this out." And I didn't want to sleep under that bridge no more. I knew if I go to this place, I was going to have a bed waiting on me. Like, they were going to feed me. And who knows, I might be able to, fix my life while I'm at it. So I called up there, Harbor Light,
Harbor Lights, run by the Salvation Army in Indianapolis,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It gets some people give it a bad rep. I love that place. I really did. But
A lot of it's got to do with your attitude
Absolutely.
going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it'll work if you work it. Let's just.
There you go.
But I called up there and they was like, we're full right now. We can get you a bed in like 5 days. And I was like, man, I ain't got 5 days. It's like, lady, I'm sleeping under a bridge. So I got to figure something else out until then. And luckily, like they're in Connorsville at the time, and the third floor of their hospital, they had a detox unit. It's not there anymore.
I remember that.
North Star Recovery, I think it's called.
Yes.
So I went to there and got there that night, and they said they were full. Well, I had like 2 trash bags of clothes. That's what my existence had amounted to. That's all my belongings I had. And I remember I sat down in them clothes and I was sitting on them. I said, well, I'm not going anywhere. I said, I can't go anywhere. Like, this is the end of the road for me. Like, I will sit here until you find something for me. I said, I've already been told, put on the waiting list. So, and I sat there for like 2 hours, and this lady finally walked back by and she was like, you're still here? I was like, I told you I'm not going anywhere. And she's like, I'm going to find something for you. So, bless her heart, she found me something. And, I detoxed there for 5 days, got out, went straight to Harbor Light, did the detox there as well. I was in bad shape. When I arrived at Harbor Lights and I did my intake, Randy, I was 118 pounds. That's terrible.
Yeah.
And
That's skin and bone.
Yeah, I'm like 210 today. So
There's the comparison,
Yeah.
right?
And
You were about half your size then.
right, 2 of me now. But I remember I kept just putting it in God's hands, and I went through that detox, and then the easy route would have been, pack up and go home. I didn't want to go the easy route. I wanted to go the hard route. Like, a lot of people doubted me. A lot of people said, he ain't gonna last. He'll just be right back doing the same thing.
Sure.
And I'm the type of person where I use that as like motivation. That adds fuel to the fire to me.
Okay.
If you tell me I can't do something, watch. I'm gonna show you.
First thing you're going to do.
Yeah. So I stayed for the residential treatment. I think it's a little different now, but back then it was just 14 days.
Yes, 2 weeks.
So I did that, and then I was still homeless. So I really didn't have anything to come back home to at the time. So I transitioned on into the transitional housing.
Okay.
Got me a job at Sears at the outlet store. So I'm walking from Harbor Lights to the bus stop, and it's not a very nice neighborhood through there.
Yes, it's a tough place.
Yeah, it's not a very
folks.
nice neighborhood. So, I was willing to do whatever it takes, So I walked from Harbor Lights to the bus stop, rode the bus to work, walked back to Harbor Lights, and did my meetings each day there. And that place taught me a lot about myself and a lot about the spirituality aspect of recovery. Some people it might not work, but for me, it absolutely helped.
I can't begin to tell you. I'm going to guess we have probably sent 1,200, maybe 1,300 people there. And just like you said, some of them will come out cussing and kicking about it.
Yeah.
Others go in that way and come out with a joy-filled life. I don't think it's the facility as much as the person. We see celebrities go to $1 million place and they come out and relapse. It's on the individual. It's not on those who are leading you through it.
Yeah, and like I said, I loved it. It was a good program. What they did, they told you what you needed to hear, not what you want to hear.
That's the way it's got to be.
And I took that direction and I ran with it and I applied it to my life, and I stayed in that transitional program, I don't know, for about another month. And at the time, like my wife she'd brought the kids up to see me for like the first time, and I'll never forget that moment. Like, they ain't seen me in a while, and, mom was telling him, Dad's just up there getting well, he's getting better. She didn't tell him, dad was struggling with substance use, and so she just told him, I was sick and I was getting well. So they came up and seen me, and I remember when I went into the cafeteria for my visit with them, and they seen Dad, and like nothing happened. They come running full, So man, I broke down in tears, hugged my kids, and I told them,
It'd been how long since you had seen them?
a few months.
Okay.
But they were used to seeing Dad like all the time. So and I told them like, I'm almost better. Like I'm almost there. Like I'll be home. And that was tough, not leaving with them that day.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Yeah, so I had to, explain to them like I'm almost there, guys. Stick with it, and I'll see you guys. And my wife at the time, she started, or not my wife at the time, but she started, believing in me a little more, seeing the change. We talked a little bit, and she was like, I got this house, and all the years of being with you, we've never had sober you. So if you want to come home, we can give family a shot with sober you. We can give it a shot. So, I ended up coming back to Rushville, and they talk about like, you got to change your people, places, and things, and that's the truest thing you'll ever hear.
As simple as it sounds, it's more difficult to do, but until you do, you're going to continue to fight the battle, right?
Yeah, and it's hard. Like, if you're going around the same people that's using and the same place where it's being used at, and well,
there are those who admire and respect you for stepping up. There are others who want to pull you back in the hole with them because misery loves company.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, if they see a Timothy finding healing, hope, and recovery, it says to them they can do it. And they're not ready to hear that. They see the truth in someone like you rising above your past.
Yeah, and, I dove head first, when I got home from my recovery, and I stayed plugged in. I wasn't going to let anything distract me from what I'm doing and what I want to do and where I'm trying to go. So, I got real involved with our Brianna's Hope and got, I'm on Team Hope. I have been for 3 years now or something. I support like AA and NA and Celebrate Recovery, like nothing against all them programs.
No.
A lot of them work for a lot of different people, So I was able to just, take a little bit from each program, and
there's simply no one path.
Oh yeah, there's no one size fits all to recovery.
Unfortunately,
it'd be great.
Yeah. So, folks, let me explain to you. Timothy's more than once mentioned A Better Life, Brianna's Hope. We're a participant-driven, faith-based, compassion-filled support and recovery movement for those battling the battle with substance use disorder / addiction. We have like 38 chapters in the state of Indiana, 8 chapters in Ohio, 1 in Virginia. Should you be out there with a desire to find some place to connect with, we invite you to give us a try. Whether we're your first thought or your last chance, we don't care about that. We're going to treat you just as Timothy said he was treated. We're non-judgmental. We don't have the answers. We don't even know half the questions, but we will be there with you. You have that desire to move forward into treatment, we can help make that happen. Go to our website. It'll give you a breakdown of everything we're about, where chapters are located. It is ablbh.org, or send us an email to podcast@ablbh.org. We'll answer your questions. We'll help you get hooked up. Timothy, go ahead and tell us where life is now. You had mentioned earlier that you're a peer recovery support specialist. That's probably not exactly right, but give us that label.
And I feel so proud of myself. I got a career, and I got credentials after my name. I got business cards with my name and my credentials, and that makes me feel like a whole adult. So it's a CAPRC 2. That's Certified Addictions Peer Recovery Coach Level 2.
Okay. Tell the folks what that is, what that means.
Well, at the cafe, we we take pride in ourselves that we're a stigma-free, judgment-free zone. We just want to love people where they're at in their life. We don't get to make the decisions for them. They get to make the decisions. And we offer many different resource referrals, whether that be for treatment, for, housing, insurance, help getting the phone. We have a clothing closet for, anybody might be experiencing homelessness. We got shower available. We serve meals Fridays and Saturdays. We offer many different groups throughout the week, whether that's, we got an AA group. I just started up a men's open discussion group last night. And I told them, this ain't faith-based. This ain't 12-step. This is just
Let's talk.
Yeah, this is just men getting together and talking. So, and it was really well received. And we do our Brianna Soap Saturday. Well, Frank does the Brianna Soap Saturday mornings there. There's a women's codependency group. We got all pathways to recovery groups.
So let's say there's somebody out there listening that wants to connect. How can they do that?
It's harmreductioncafe.org.
harmreductioncafe.org.
I'm pretty sure that's
and
the
that'll
website.
give them, the website
and
to get the information.
Yeah, we're on Facebook. If you just look up Connection Cafe, we got a Facebook page and stuff there. But when we do, a harm reduction day on Thursdays, which, is the Safer Syringe Exchange, and we got Narcan. We got Narcan training. So basically, we're helping stop the spread of infectious disease and reduce the harm caused upon people if they are still out there struggling. So we just want to love them, support them, and keep them alive.
Yeah, though this is in Fayette County, it's not closed to only Fayette County individuals. Anybody that shows up can get this help.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, we got people from out of county that come and see us.
Okay. Folks, if you don't know, the county seat of Fayette County is Connersville, Indiana. It wasn't too many years ago. It was a dark hole with drugs, and I'm not saying they are free of it now. I'm just saying they have become some type of recovery central, and they do a bunch, and they would welcome. So, Timothy, is there anything you'd like to close with here? Anything you'd like to say to folks? Or maybe even your wife, because it sounds to me like she's been through the ringer with you. She's faced her own hells, if you'll pardon the expression, but she hadn't let go. She took those vows seriously, for better or for worse.
Like I said, she's a saint. She's a good one. All the prayers she prayed for me, they were finally answered in my, God's time. It took a little longer than probably what she would have liked, but they come true. And she told me, you proved that you can, stay 1 year sober. You can propose to me. So I did that, proposed to her. We got married. Life's good today, and if anybody out there, if you're struggling with anything in life, you don't have to do anything alone. There's always people that are willing and, ready to help. Believe in yourself. There's a lot of people that believe in you. You might not realize that, but it's nice to have that cheer block in our section to root us on.
Recently just interviewed someone who has their own podcast. It's called You're Not Alone. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the podcast, that was his closing statement. Just know you're not alone.
Yeah.
And we need community. So thank you for your time today.
Yeah.
Thank you for the drive over from Rushville.
Glad
thank
to be
you
here.
for putting up with this inclement weather and joining us and sharing your story, for being vulnerable and real. We appreciate that a bunch.
It's a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
We'll continue to keep you in prayer and thought. Thank you. Folks, we don't believe you've come this far to only come this far. Your answer, your healing, your recovery may be just around the corner. Who knows? Maybe in our next episode with our next guest. Have faith in your recovery by having faith in yourself, your journey, and above all, God. Stay in the battle. God bless.